And welcome back to the JKR Podcast. We are here live at the Titan Bat facility in Logansport, Indiana. Today I got Monster High School student, former Chicago White Sox ACE middle infielder, and 2023 Grambling State signee, Kevin Hall, on the JKR Podcast for the Indiana Baseball Series. Kevin, super pumped to get you on the show. Really appreciate you coming out here today. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. I appreciate you reaching out. As soon as you did, I was like, okay, well, do an Indiana baseball series here at some point. Don't want to win. But, I'm glad that we finally got it to work. And
Me
again,
too.
just thanks for coming out to the facility here today.
Of course.
But first question I like to start off with every player I get on the podcast is, for those who don't know you, how would you introduce yourself? Who exactly is Kevin Hall?
That's a good question. I would say Kevin Hall is he's a guy that loves to work hard, and that he's never had anything given to him, and more the underdog. I would say Kevin Hall's the underdog.
Okay, so with you being a part of that Chicago White Sox ACE program, take us through, how you got connected with that. I know it's part of the, like we talked about earlier, part of the MLB RBI program.
Right.
Just take us through that connection and how you got connected with that program.
I actually joined White Sox ACE when I was about 10 years old. They only had a 12U team, so I played 12U when I was 10. And then I've been with them since the end of last year. And then the MLB RBI series, that was the whole thing where we played around inner city. We actually got to play at USC, which was really cool. And then if you win that in your region, then you get to go to Vero Beach, Florida, and then you play against teams all around not only the country, but around the world. So we played against Puerto Rico. We got to play against other teams like Cuba and Japan and things like that. So it was an all-around great experience.
Okay, so for the White Sox ACE, are they only participating in MLB RBI programs, or do they go down to the WWBA, NPI, and stuff like that as well?
We actually do, but we had something with COVID, and so we didn't get to go down to WWBA, and then sometimes they have MLB develops and things like that we go down to, but COVID really stripped away a lot of those opportunities.
So for the White Sox ACE, are you playing with the same coach there for those multiple different years, or is there a different coach at each age level? What does that look like for the White Sox ACE program? Usually
there is a different coach that comes around, but I would say the coach that I've had the most would probably be Marcus Rogers.
Okay.
He's an ex-scout for the Astros, and he's also a high school coach for Thornwood High School right now.
So far, you mentioned Marcus, but some of those other coaches within that White Sox ACE program, what are some of those relationships that you've built with those guys, maybe some guys that were coaching you when Marcus wasn't around? What are some of those relationships looking like?
I would say you have some of the coaches that are more like your older brother, because some of them are a little bit older than you, or maybe just got out of college. And then you have other relationships with coaches where it's more like a drill sergeant kind of thing, because they toughen you up and prepare you for the next level and things like that. So I would say they definitely create men more than anything.
Okay, so with Marcus, being a former Major League scout, for you being in the same dugout as him, how are you maybe picking his brain just in terms of, all the experience he has within Major League Baseball and just baseball in general? How do you pick the brain of a guy like that?
I feel like Marcus is the guy that let me be myself the most, but also told me what I was doing wrong. For example, I have problems with pitch selection and things like that. So he'll tell me Kevin, you're probably the best hitter I've ever seen in my life, and I've coached MLB players now that are playing in the MLB now, but your pitch selection, it's going to screw you over when you get in college, because when these guys see you for the first game and you go 3 for 3, then they're not going to throw you any more strikes. They're going to throw you balls out of the zone. So I feel like that's what I've really tried to focus on throughout the years, fixing my pitch selection.
Okay, so being a part of that, with the White Sox ACE being a part of the RBI program, what are some of those just favorite experiences, favorite memories from the RBI program? And then question 2 to that, just your favorite memories overall being part of the White Sox ACE program.
So for RBI, we actually had these dorm rooms. So we each had 2 roommates and things like that. So it gave you the whole college atmosphere and things like that. So I would say that was probably the most fun part, just hanging with the guys and playing video games, or the weather and hanging with other teams and playing ping pong against Puerto Rico, or being on the bus with them, just things like that. It was just a great experience. And then you said my favorite experience with White Sox in general. Like I said, it would probably still have to be the brotherhood thing. White Sox ACE is just a brotherhood, like I said, but yeah, just the brotherhood atmosphere.
Okay, so what is the favorite place that you've played at with the RBI program? Again, I haven't had I believe you might be the first or second guy I've had on the podcast to be a part of the RBI program. Mm-hmm. So kind of take me through what that looks like in the summer. Is it like a week program? What exactly does that look like?
So after we play in the regional games at UIC, then it's, I think last year it was August 3rd to the 9th, so it's about a week long. We go down there and then we play other teams and things like that, and then like you just compete for like the World Series championship and things like that.
Okay, so being around guys from different parts of the country, you mentioned Team Puerto Rico as well. Is that a little bit of a culture shock? What's that like? Being around different guys from across the country, not from just the Midwest, but all over. Is there maybe a little bit of a culture shock there?
I just enjoy being around guys that, are around different cultures and things like that, because I feel like it prepares me for the next level. Like when I've talked to a lot of coaches and things like that, that have played at the next level, they say how diverse it is and the different languages that they pick up and things like that. So I would say that's the biggest part of it that I enjoy. Okay,
so being a student there at Monster High School, let's go ahead and transition into high school ball. Take us through those first couple of years now that you're a senior, just your freshman, sophomore, junior year leading up to where you're at now. What has that high school experience been like for you?
My JV, or I actually played JV as a sophomore. They rostered 20 people at the beginning of the season, and I batted .550, so I was really upset about not getting pulled up and things like that. But my next season, I came in with like a chip on my shoulder, like to prove myself. I ended up winning. I led the state in batting average for like about a month, and I finished the season batting, I think it was .528 or something like that. I won all-state second baseman, and yeah, this year I'm just trying to do the same thing but more and carry my team to something bigger.
Okay, so being a senior, being one of those older guys in that locker room, in that clubhouse, have you maybe stepped up as a leader in some way to lead some of those younger guys who are maybe going through some of the same things you did as a freshman, sophomore?
I have, yes. Like I make sure that I try to guide the guys, the same way that I was guided last year and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to the rest of your spring, or when it comes to the rest of this spring, going through the rest of your senior year before graduation, what are some of those expectations you have for this Monster High School baseball team? For you, the team, but also for yourself personally as well.
Like I said, we're a younger group and things like that. So I think the biggest thing would be to come in with energy throughout the game. When we come in with energy and we're loud in the dugout, and you have the heightened noise in the dugout and things like that, then I don't see a team that can beat us, For myself personally, I would just like to I would try to break that stolen base record for Munster High School. I think it's about like 28 or something like that, and I came close last year. I got 26. This year I have about 9 stolen bases throughout our 7-8 games, so I'm going to up it up a little bit. And then, yeah, I'll get that as well.
Okay, so you like the new style of play with Major League Baseball's new bases expanding. You like the new small ball era when it comes to baseball.
I do like that. Yes, I do.
Okay, so with you going through, you just have a not couple games, but probably 15, 20 games of your high school career left. Going through travel baseball for you, looking back on it, what do you think's tougher? Playing travel baseball, traveling across the country, being part of the RBI program, stuff like that. Or when you're playing in Indiana high school baseball in Northwest Indiana, when you have Valpo, Lake Central, that's a good program as well, all those different schools, what's tougher? Indiana high school baseball, travel baseball, what's that mindset difference as well?
Man, I'm going to have to go with travel baseball, like all the way. You face a lot of Division I guys and Division I prospects and just like all around great competition, and especially when you go to Lake Point, Georgia and things like that, and you see guys just like sitting 92 and they're a year younger than me, So I would definitely go with travel baseball, but there are a lot of good players in high school baseball as well.
Okay. So you mentioned Lake Point. Have you been to East Cobb as well?
I have.
Okay. What's your favorite? What's better, Lake Point, East Cobb?
I would say Lake Point.
Okay.
I really like the field. I'm a big fan of the field.
Okay. Is Lake Point concessions better than East Cobb concessions?
Yes. Yes, it
really?
is. Yes,
okay.
it is.
I showed up to East Cobb for the first time last summer, and everyone's telling me, hey, it's your first time. You got to eat the concession stand food. And,
at East Cobb?
At East Cobb, yeah. So Lake Point's better, you're saying?
I would say Lake Point is better. Yes,
okay.
I would.
Well, when I hit the Lake Point this summer, I'm definitely have to check that out.
Good. Let me know.
But no, so I see that Grambling State logo there on your shirt.
Yep.
Let's go ahead. Let's dig into that recruiting process. Take us through, when that recruiting process got started, what that was like up until you did commit. Just what did that recruiting process look like?
So Actually, my recruiting process started in probably about the 8th grade. So I was talking to a lot of bigger schools like University of Miami and like University of Ohio, schools like that. When the pandemic hit and things like that, a lot of stuff happened with not being able to come in contact with coaches and things. So that kind of cut off a lot of connections for me. But, everything happens for a reason. And I actually played in a double duty classic at White Sox Stadium. And I got a look at, or the Grambling coach came and looked at me and he talked to me and stuff like that. And we stayed in contact. Actually, during the RBI game, when I hit my home run at USC is when I got my offer.
Okay. So is that how long after that offer you get from Grambling State do you commit there? Were you talking to some other schools as well?
I was talking to a couple other schools. Yeah, I was. I was talking to a lot of schools in the SWAC, like Alabama State, Alabama A&M, schools like that. And right after I committed, I got a couple other looks, surprisingly, too, because I didn't sign anything yet.
Okay, so throwing it back to your 8th grade year, you're talking to the University of Miami, talking to the University of Ohio. What's that like, being a 14, 15-year-old kid, not even playing high school baseball yet? What's that like? What's going through your mind at that point, and maybe some of those initial conversations as well?
I was a little nervous at first, but my dad was just telling me, all this stuff is going to go past quickly, so just enjoy the process. And that's what he's always told me, too, with everything else, just to enjoy the process, like the early mornings and things like that. Like, it all happens in a blink of an eye. So, you just got to sit back and enjoy the process.
Okay, so getting that offer to go play baseball at Grambling State, maybe deciding between a couple other schools as well, what were some of those key things that you were looking for throughout that recruiting process, whether that's the school, the program, the coaches? What were some of those key things you were looking at?
I would say my biggest thing is to play in a warmer environment. I feel like a lot of people down south have the bigger advantage than us up north because they get to play that year-round baseball. I went down to go visit in about like November-ish it was, and they're out there playing scrimmage games, and it's 90 degrees outside, So they just overall, I feel like, have the higher advantage than we do.
So I've heard of Grambling State for a while now, but I guess what state is Grambling State in?
Grambling State's in Louisiana.
In Louisiana.
Yep.
Okay.
About 3 hours out from New Orleans.
Okay. So for you, with Grambling State, I believe that's an HBCU, correct?
Yes.
So for you, going through talking to other schools that weren't HBCU compared to other schools that were you always considering HBCU, or what went into that mindset to choose an HBCU school?
My mentor, Marshawn Taylor, actually went to Grambling State, and he played professional baseball as well for the Diamondbacks. And I remember when he was giving me lessons for infielding and hitting and things like that, he was just telling me about how much of a home atmosphere it is. And I mean, when I went down there, that's exactly what I got. That Southern hospitality it's really real, man.
Okay.
It's real.
All right. So I guess with you being a senior, the fall of your senior year is always when the fun stuff happens. You go on maybe an official visit. You actually sign that piece of paper for National Signing Day. Take us through those two events that happened, just what that was like, making it official, maybe going down, having your official visit as well. What were those, what did that kind of look like?
So I went down to go visit. I went down with my family. And we went down there and we talked. We had a couple other recruits down there with us, and we had dinner. We watched the scrimmage games. We watched a football game, and we actually went to a party and stuff like that, and just got the whole atmosphere of there. And then we talked to a lot of the guys on the team and stuff like that.
So with you being a senior, not too far away from going to that Grambling State campus, what are some of those relationships you've built with some of your future teammates? Whether that's guys who are there already that you had that were showing you around during the visit, or guys that are signed in the 2023 class as well. What are some of those relationships you have?
Like I said, back to the Southern hospitality thing. Like I said, how that's so real. There's another recruit from Mississippi, and I talk to him about every day. That's actually going to be my roommate when I go down there. And we would, when we would go out to eat and stuff like that, his dad would take us and blah, blah, blah. My parents would be like, where are you at? And then the dad's like, yeah, we already adopted him. Since they're only about 2 hours away from his school and I'm 13 hours away, he was like, yeah, you're welcome anytime to come. Yeah, you're always welcome to stay here.
Okay. So you mentioned 13 hours away. At that point, are you going to be flying, driving? You taking a car down there? Your family going to go watch some games in the spring? What's that look like?
So we're actually going to drive down there first, so we can bring everything with us, and then I'll probably fly back and forth, when I come back home to visit and things. But yeah, that is a long drive.
Okay, so beyond this spring, do you know when you're going to be heading to campus, maybe getting those, summer workouts? And I know most schools have it to where in the summer it's basically just the whole freshman team there getting to know each other a little bit. Do you know what the whole plan is for this summer, or is that something that they're kind of waiting on your guys' spring season to come to an end for?
I think they're kind of waiting for the spring season to end. But as of right now, I know that I'm coming down in the fall, but if I have to come over in the summer early, then, that's just what I'm going to have to do.
Okay, so as we talk about relationships there a little bit, take us through the relationship you've built with the Grambling State coaches and maybe how that's evolved here since you've committed, been signed now, gone on visits. What are some of those relationships with the Grambling State coaching staff?
The coach is all around a great guy. He really voices what I feel like White Sox ACE was voicing, as well as not only building you to be a better ball player, because that's just the plus part of it, but he builds you to be a better man outside of baseball and things like that.
So you said you got that offer after you hit the home run at the White Sox Stadium. Are you referring to guaranteed rate field as like?
No. I'm referring to UIC field, college field.
Okay,
UIC.
okay.
That'd be crazy.
I was gonna ask, what was that? Walking up those steps, coming out of the dugout.
Yeah.
But no. So as you get to Grambling State, I know you are a middle infielder. That's where you play for the White Sox ACE. That's where you play for Monster High School. Do you see yourself sticking at maybe second base, shortstop? Where do you think that mindset is right now as you get to that next level?
I would say I'm most comfortable second base, but what a lot of people don't know is that I'm actually a utility player. Like, I can play outfield too. Last game, I actually played outfield against Lincoln Way Central. I had a couple balls out there, a couple diving plays because one of our players got hurt, but I feel like I'm very versatile, and that my bat and my speed is probably the biggest thing.
Okay, so in the field, is it an easy transition going from, you're a fast guy, I'm assuming center field?
Yeah.
Is it an easy transition going from center field to second base to shortstop, or is there maybe a little bit of an approach or a different mindset you have to have from outfield to infield?
Not really. I've always loved pop flies. Like, even when I was a kid, me and my dad used to have little competitions on throwing the ball the highest and who can catch it like a different way or behind our backs and stuff like that. So I feel like I read the ball very well off the bat, so I feel like that benefits me a lot.
Okay, so on the hitting side of things, take us through, well, first off, in the lineup, where do you hit at?
I hit second, but I actually just transitioned to first batter.
Okay, so first off question for hitting, what was that like going from second hitter to leadoff? Was there a mindset change there, or what does that look like?
Okay, so the biggest thing is that before I did not like batting, or I did not like batting first because I've looked at myself as a free swinger and things like that. So I kind of had to adjust to that. But like I said, Marcus Rogers taught me a lot, and he taught me to change my approach and be more selective. And that's going to be the way that I make it past, the next level. And so really just pitch selection was probably just the biggest thing, and watching what the pitcher's throwing, and watching him warm up in the bullpen, and watching film too based off like his scouting reports and things.
So as leadoff, is there again with the approach? Is there a different approach? Leading off the game compared to maybe leading off an inning, or even hitting second or third throughout an inning? Is there a different approach there as well?
It really depends about the situation and things like that. Because there'll be some times where I feel like the only time it really matters when you bat first is at the beginning of the game, because after that, everything else is flowing. Like, sometimes you can bat fourth and then still have to lead off the inning and then be the leadoff batter. But not much of a difference, I wouldn't say. Probably just, like I said, pitch selection and just making sure you're swinging at balls that you can drive.
Okay, so for the traditional leadoff hitter, you're supposed to see a lot of pitches, make contact, not strike out a lot. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the two-strike approach, is there different? What does that look like for you? What are you adjusting to? Just take us through your two-strike approach.
So my two-strike approach is much different, but I would say that it works for me. I feel like my bat speed never fails me, unless I maybe have a guy throwing like plus 95 or something like that. But my two-strike approach is actually to sit breaking ball and to adjust to fastball. So, because I don't think that anybody can beat me with a fastball, so I just adjust to that.
Okay, so you mentioned 95 plus. How many times have you faced a guy? I'm just gonna throw out the number 90 out there.
Right.
How many times have you faced a guy throwing 90 plus?
90 plus. Man, like I said, travel, man. You see that. If you don't see it every day, then you're like, oh, this guy's just another guy, But I would say I can't even give you a number.
Okay. So toughest AB you've had, whether that's going through travel baseball here in the Northwest Indiana as well. Who is that toughest pitcher that you have faced?
The toughest pitcher I would say that I faced is probably Connor Mish. Connor Mish is a pretty good pitcher.
Okay.
I would give him his credit. Yeah.
And is he pitching or hitting there, Xavier, or both? I can't remember.
You know, I haven't really kept up with him, but I would assume pitching. But he's a pretty good hitter too, so he might be doing both.
Okay. All right. So when it comes to all the technology that's in the game of baseball, I'm sure as you go through the White Sox ACE program, they hit a bunch of different maybe Rapsodos, hit track, stuff like that. I'm sure Grambling State has the same thing. When it comes to technology within the game of baseball, do you consider yourself more of a new school, old school type of guy? What does that look like through your mind?
You know, I feel like I kind of go in between the two. You know, I'm not too much big on the launch angles and the things like that. You know, I'm more of just like drive the ball up the middle away, things like that. I'm not too big on either one. You know, I do like the Rapsodo because it shows you what it's going to be like in game. I don't like machines pitching to you because I feel like it messes up your timing. So I would say like somewhere in the middle is where I'm at.
Okay, so throughout the interview, you've mentioned a couple different mentors that you've had within the game of baseball. If you had to choose 2 to 3 people that are the most influential within your baseball career so far, who would those people be, and what would be the reasonings for them being so influential?
I actually failed to mention my mentor, John Jay. He actually played for the Chicago Cubs, and he played for Miami, and he's also the Miami Marlins first base coach right now as well. He's taught me a lot, you know. I actually DM'd him after he retired, just like giving him props and telling him thank you and congratulations on his retirement and things like that. And, you know, he's really just a down-to-earth guy, and he gave me his number. We've been talking for a while now, actually. And whenever I have problems or whenever I'm doing good, I hit him up, send him videos. He cuts it down for me. We get on FaceTime. He tells me what I'm doing wrong, and he just tells me what I can do to do better next time. So I would say John Jay has helped me a lot. Marcus Rogers has helped me a lot to know what I need to fix in the future. And another coach I've had was Jay Nash. He's helped me a lot too, just making me mentally tough for the game.
So as you get to that next level, head to Grambling State, you know, with John Jay being the Marlins first base coach, I'm sure he's super busy. Do you plan on continuously doing this with him? What is that relationship like that you've built with John Jay?
You know, I try not to bother him too much because I know he's he's got stuff going on in the MLB and things like that. But you know, whenever I have a problem, he always hits me up right away after I hit him. You know, he's never big leagued me or anything like that. He's actually sent me books of the baseball mentality to have. So whenever I'm going through, I'm not going to say the S word, you know, it ends with a P. I'm not going to say it though because it's bad luck. But whenever I'm going through something like that, I read that book and I cut it down and I take little snippets of it and things like that, and I just read that.
Okay, so what's the go-to book when it comes to baseball mentality?
Dorfman's great, man. He's helped me a lot, and I just read him yesterday on a Saturday. Okay. So I'm a baseball nerd.
So John Jay, being a former Chicago Cub, you playing for the White Sox program and living in Northwest Indiana, you a North Side or a South Side guy?
I'm a North Side guy. I'm a Cubs fan.
Okay, there we go.
Right on.
Rough start to the year, but
yeah,
we'll see if we get it going.
We'll get back together.
Dansby's back, I think.
Yeah,
right?
He's
back in the lineup.
Yeah, he's nice.
A couple games.
Yep.
But so last segment here that I got, I kind of dig into the personal side of things to end off most of the interviews. So first off, when it comes to passions beyond the game of baseball, what do you enjoy doing when you're away from the field? Maybe you need to get your mind off of things. What are some of those passions that you have?
Passions that I have is, you know, I'm a really big gym rat, I would say. So working out helps a lot. You know, spending time with like family and friends and like my girlfriend, things like that. That helps like as like more of like a happy place or like a safe zone and things like that, just to get my mind away from the game and just the stress, you know, because it is a very like mentally tolling game and things.
So you mentioned working out. I know a lot of baseball players don't like to do your traditional, you know, bench press, squat, stuff like that. For you, what is that workout regimen, and kind of, you know, what is that approach going into your different workouts throughout whether that's in season, off season? Just take us through that workout regimen.
So I'm actually blessed to have a mom that's a surgical nurse and a dad that's a physical therapist. So they kind of give me different tips of what workouts to do and what not to do, and what helped me to like build agility. So my main workouts that I do are mostly explosive. So anything that I do, it's always slow and controlled down and explode up and things like that to build speed and whatnot. Yeah.
Okay, so on the motivation side of things, you know, what is it that helps you get out of bed every morning, helps you continuously evolve as a ball player, but also as a person? What are some of those just internal motivations that you have?
You know, ever since I wanted to be a little kid, like I've always wanted to be professional baseball player. So I have pictures all over my room of me when I was a kid and me holding a bat with like a Cubs hat on or something like that. And I'm always just thinking like, you know, I gotta do it for that little kid right there. I gotta get up for that kid right there. I have like little posters and things like that that help me out, like with different motivational sayings on it, like to get myself up. But I would say that most definitely.
Okay, so with the dream of being a professional baseball player, perfect picture, 20 years down the road, you're 37, 38 years old at that point. Everything's going right for you. What is that perfect picture of your life?
My perfect picture would be me being a Hall of Famer, me winning a World Series with the Cubs, and me being an All-Star, of course. And MVP would be great.
Okay,
you know?
all right. So as you talk about Major League Baseball, what would be that MLB player comp that you would have on yourself?
Me and Cedric Mullen, I would say.
Okay. He was
Cedric
on Team
Mullen.
USA this past year,
Yeah,
wasn't
he was.
That's what I thought.
He was.
So 2 last questions here for you. Gonna ask them back to back. So obviously, I said the same thing to Sammy when he came in. He had about an hour drive.
Okay.
You guys had what, 2.5 hours?
Yeah, we had about 2 hours.
Okay, so long drive there. I'm sure you listen to a lot of music or podcasts, whatever.
Yep.
What is that go-to playlist when you're going on these long drives, on the bus? Just what are those go-to playlists? And then final question, when you do get to Grambling State, you're going to have that opportunity to capitalize on your name, image, and likeness. What would be that dream brand that you would love to endorse, collaborate with, partner with, whatever happens to be? What would be that dream brand?
So my playlist, before every game, I actually listen to Tupac before every single game. So that's what I listen to on the road for long road drives. I listen to country. So I'm actually got like a pretty good mixture going on here.
What's the favorite Tupac song?
Tupac song is probably Troublesome 96.
Okay.
That's
and
probably
favorite
my
country song? Are you more
Favorite country?
Gordon Wallen, Luke Combs, or are you more old school?
I like Zach Bryan a lot.
Okay.
So I would probably say Something in the Orange. So that's probably my favorite.
That's a good baseball song too. I know a lot of baseball players who don't like Something in the Orange. But Dream NIL brand, what's that?
I actually just recently got a sponsorship deal with Stinger Sports Gear and things like that. They actually sent me some batting gloves and things like that. But I would say to expand on that, because I think that they're going to be a bigger like brand later on. And of course Nike. I would love to get a deal with Nike and Jordan. Like that would be a dream for me.
Okay. Well, Nike, you know, that is probably the most. That's probably the brand that people bring up the most when I ask that question.
Right.
So, no, guys, you know, thanks for listening here today. Go follow at JKR_baseball on Instagram and Twitter. Listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Again, want to thank Kevin for coming on the show today, but also thank Todd Stevens and Trampus Young for allowing us to be at the Titan Bat facility here in Logansport. So go ahead, give us a follow, give us a listen, and be on the lookout for the rest of these episodes. Thanks for listening today.